Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. We just hit the 8 o'clock hour here in Jerusalem, and we're here until midnight covering Super Bowl 47 in New Orleans. The San Francisco 49ers take on the Baltimore Ravens. Ray Lewis's final game. So many different stories to discuss. Obviously, with any Super Bowl, you have a bunch of different variables, a bunch of different things that are occurring both on the field, off the field. So we'll try to get as much information as we can. And to help us more on his second part of the segment, only Aaron Krolik can pull this off. Aaron Krolik back on the show. How you doing, Aaron?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great. So let's talk about the brother aspect. We haven't brought this up yet. We've gone into the show 2 hours and haven't talked about really the fact these guys are brothers. That's a little awkward. We've never seen this in any type of championship play that I can think of in any sport. Two brothers coaching against each other for the ultimate prize in football. What do you make of it?
I think it's a great thing. I mean, I would love, I don't know if you want to love or you want to hate to be the parents in this situation.
Right.
I'm not a parent, so I don't know what it's like, but that would be the interesting interview. I'm happy for them. You know, I don't think they're going to talk on the phone this week. I think they are only texting. That's what they said on ESPN, the Harbaugh brothers.
Okay.
And, you know, certainly they've exchanged, I'm sure, secrets over the years.
Exactly.
On how to, you know, it's not like anything is really secret. I think what we're going to see is like execution, kind of like the Patriots, you know, like we saw them not executing. Whatever game plan they had against the Ravens, we saw that they weren't catching the ball, they weren't executing. So I think that's what it's going to come down to in this game is, you know, like who makes the most penalties and turnovers and all of those things that we just can't really predict on the air.
I agree. Look, this secrets thing, I think I'm happy you brought this up because I got to tell you, the Patriots would have won that game. Or the Falcons, it'd be Falcons, Ravens, or Patriots, 49ers. You better believe that the brother would call the other brother and say, this is what I saw, this is what I did wrong, this is how you should play them.
Right.
I'm sure they helped each other throughout their football careers, and now they can't share secrets this time, and they're going to have to go up against each other. I don't think there's a lot of surprises. I think whoever does the play, whoever gets it done, is going to win. There's no tricks here.
Yeah. I think, I don't think that the Harbaugh brother from San Francisco is the type of dude. I mean, he is so quirky and like weird that like he's got some stuff up his sleeve. Okay? And I believe that the other Harbaugh brother from Baltimore is savvy and smart enough to know that, and he's going to have something up his sleeve. So there will be some trickery. That's what's going to I mean, there will be trickery. The question is, I don't think that that's going to really change the outcome of the game unless it's something so crazy cool. I mean, you can't really say an onside kick because an onside kick can, you know, it doesn't always get recovered. So it's a good call, but I'm talking about a real trick play that works or going for it on a fourth down or seeing how aggressive they are. I think we'll know pretty much right away, like, what's going on.
Wait a minute. Okay, so you're disagreeing with me. You think there will be trick plays? The brothers, don't they know each other that well to not be fooled by a trick?
I think that there's an element between brothers that there's always a chance that one might try to out-coach the other. And you're right, not let the players just play. And I think it's important in this game to just, you know, like, you're right, to just let the players execute. But, like, we don't really know what goes on with Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick or, you know, what's being set into the quarterback's helmets, how much people are involved with audibles. And it's just so beyond us, Ari, to even, like, speculate as to trick plays and what's called when and what's a trick and what's not a trick. I mean, we saw the Patriots they executed that one play on fourth down was great. That direct snap to Woodhead. You remember that? And
yeah.
Brady, and like they looked like they were marching. I mean, that was before Welker scored, and that was like, okay, like Patriots look good. Stuff like that is kind of trickery. You know, like you're going to see. I think the nature of the San Francisco offense is so much trickery and sleight of hand, and Colin Kaepernick doing that pistol formation and either giving it out to Frank Gore or keeping it. And I think there's just inherent trickery in that versus what Flacco and the Ravens can do, because Flacco is obviously a pocket passer. So I think the Harbaugh from San Francisco has more of the weapons to do fun, gimmicky trick plays, if you want, that might be big-time yard gainers. But the Ravens have showed that, like, listen, their brand of football puts up a lot of points, and it's holding offenses to less points than they're scoring.
All right, you know what? I think Jim's a better coach. No disrespect to the other brother. I think Jim's better. I think the 49ers have more weapons. I think they're the better team. What I mean, though, by trick plays, as you alluded to in Super Bowl 44, when they have the onside kick at the beginning of the second half, I don't think we're going to see plays like that. I don't think we're going to see a fake field goal or a fake punt. I think the other brothers will be able to sense it. I think they'll be able to notice something on the field. That's what I'm talking about. Or do you disagree and say something like that will happen anyway?
Ari, I'm here. I'm just kind of, I can't a second, but I'm going to hear you in 1 second.
Okay, excellent. Again, this is Louis live on Israel Sports Radio. We're being joined by Aaron Krolik, host of Monday Afternoon Quarterback on Tuesday evenings to discuss Super Bowl 47, Baltimore Ravens, San Francisco 49ers. Aaron, are you with us now? Can you hear us?
Yes, I am with you. Thank you.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I don't think we'll see a fake field goal, fake punt, an onside kick like we did in Super Bowl 44, the beginning of the second half. Or do you disagree with me and say that we will see such a thing?
I think we'll see something more likely with San Francisco in light of the fact that that David Akers sucks.
All right.
Right? Like they might rather go for it or do something trickery than have him go for a 53-yarder if they're up. I don't know, right? So I think that the Harbaugh in San Francisco is just a more quirky coach. And I'm pretty certain that you can say that San Francisco has nothing to lose. I mean, they're playing with house money. Certainly, Baltimore, they pride themselves on being an elite NFL team. So I bet you they're feeling some pressure.
I agree with that.
We'll see how Colin Kaepernick holds up under pressure. Certainly, we know Joe Flacco, he's been awesome in the playoffs, and that hasn't seemed to get to his mind. But, once again, we're dealing with Super Bowl, and neither of these guys have been in the Super Bowl. I'd go back to even how many players on these teams have played in the Super Bowl. We could say Randy Moss has been there. Ray Lewis, like you said, many years ago. I don't think Ed Reed was on that team, was he?
He was not. No, Ed Reed was not.
So Ed Reed would like a Super Bowl right now. The Ravens really, I think, we talk about being due for a blowout. I think that the stars are more aligned right now with just the Ravens being due for a Super Bowl. I think the Ravens are kind of due for a Super Bowl right now, that they've been the last 5-6 years with, John Harbaugh. They've just built up that franchise, and from Joe Flacco to everybody that they've acquired. And they've been at the top of the AFC every year. And they've won playoff games, and they just haven't gotten over the hump till this year. Maybe this is the game that the Ravens are just due to win. And does Colin Kaepernick really get his Super Bowl right now, and this kid's a champion? He can always come back in next year, the year after. I see Joe Flacco getting it, don't you?
Well, I'll tell you, I love this point you're making about pressure. I think that has not been spoken enough about because this is Ray Lewis's last game. The Ravens have to win this now. Ed Reed also is no spring chicken. They have to win this now. The Niners will probably be in another Super Bowl within 2 or 3 years. They have a 25-year-old quarterback.
100%.
And Frank Gore, again, a little bit older, but they're going to be – I just feel like the Niners will be back. I don't know. Also, the Ravens played a tougher conference, in my opinion. I think the Patriots, the Broncos, Steelers, I think these are tougher teams to deal with than what the 49ers have to deal with. I could be wrong about that, but that's my opinion. I agree the pressure's more on the Ravens. I also agree momentum, destiny seems to be on the Ravens' side as well. Aaron, last question before we let you go. Give us your prediction.
Yeah.
Who is winning Super Bowl 47, and what will be the score?
I've had all week to think about this, and I mean, clearly, we have a couple weeks. We have another week before the game, so my mind might change a couple times, but I think I've made my decision, with all things being equal, if the game were tonight, I just am going to rely on not the eye test, because the eye test says that, I really like what I see with San Francisco, but I'm going to go with my heart, and I really feel that Baltimore is going to win this game, and they are going to get a Super Bowl for Ray Lewis, and it's going to be unbelievable. And I will say the Ravens win this game 35-33.
Okay, again, I pointed this out to my audience, and I'll point this out again. We've had 4 predictions of the Super Bowl, 2 for the 49ers, 2 for the Ravens. That's how close this game is going to be, and that's how close the experts think it will be. Aaron, thank you so much for being on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Enjoy the game. We will be in touch.
Thank you, Ari. Have a good one, everyone.
Be well. All right, that was Aaron Krolik. That's the host of the Monday afternoon quarterback show on Tuesday evenings. Again, 2 for the Ravens, 2 for the Niners. And as I said, we're going to have 12 guests on tonight. I really wouldn't be surprised if we have 6-6, 6 for the Niners and 6 for the Ravens, because the game just appears to be that close. Right now, Las Vegas has the 49ers being a 4.5-point favorite. That may be a little bit too high, according to some. But we'll see if that spread comes down a little bit based on what will happen in practice, based on what happened in the news. Again, if there's more issues regarding Michael Crabtree, I don't expect that to be. But if that is the case, that might affect the spread. Wouldn't be surprised if we see the spread get down to 3 points by the time kickoff rolls around. But at this point, it is 4.5 plus for the 49ers. 49ers were the favorites against the Falcons, even though they were on the road. On the line right now to break down Super Bowl 47 even in more detail, the co-host of the Bus and Tank football show, Amram Tank Sherby. Tank, how you doing out there?
I'm good. I just couldn't quite hear you right there. I guess we broke up for a moment, but we're back, I guess.
Yes, we are. We are definitely back, and we are ready to roll. So let's get your breakdown of first the NFC title game and the AFC title game. How the heck were the Ravens able to shut out the Patriots for an entire half and not have them score a point? And how were the 49ers able to shut out the Falcons for an entire half where they did not score a point?
Well, as far as the Patriots, it was just, you know what, the Patriots killed themselves with mistakes and injuries and dropped passes. And you know what, kudos to the Ravens and everything, but I think it was with both games, I think it was a little bit more that they beat themselves than the other team beat them. I'm going to give the Ravens a little more credit here and say, you know what, you stopped one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. You stopped a very potent offense. Even without Gronkowski, they're capable of moving the ball. The offense wasn't nearly as banged up as the defense was. Their secondary was a mess. But when you look at the Falcons, it was just they had all the momentum going for them. They'd scored a touchdown right before the half to get a 10-point lead. They started off the game with crazy momentum, and you know what? You're thinking, okay, so they melted down last week. They're not going to do it again. Yet they did it again in a worse fashion this time, and this time it cost them. As far as, you know what, the Falcons killed themselves with those 2 turnovers. The interception wasn't really the killer. The fumble was the killer. The fact that they couldn't convert that 4th down. The Falcons were just awful in the second half.
I agree. Again, you have a 17-point lead. You cannot lose that. You cannot only score 7 more points the rest of the way. Absolutely unacceptable. And I want to go to the AFC title game. Bill Belichick made a lot of questionable moves. In your eyes, in your opinion, what was some of the worst moves or the worst move that he did on Sunday?
I'm sorry, I just lost that last part of the sentence.
What was the worst move he did on Sunday, Bill Belichick, in your eyes?
Well, I don't know how much choice he had as far as making all these. I don't know. It's a tough call for me. I'll be quite honest. Bill Belichick has been known for doing a lot of questionable calls. He's been known for making a lot of things work. And you know what? When a coach has won 3 Super Bowls, it's hard for me to second guess that coach because he's made a lot of great moves that have worked in the past. And so, if you're not gonna get it on 4th down, you know what? It's not the end of the world. You've been trying. I don't know. It's very hard for me to second guess him. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. He's been second guessed a lot of times, but he's won 3 Super Bowls. He has a lot to show for his risky play calling sometimes.
Well, I feel like he was more conservative when they won those 3 Super Bowls. I mean, if you look at Super Bowl 42, he went on it on 4th and 13 against the Giants. And there was a year where he went on it on 4th and 12 against Peyton Manning and the Colts in the regular season. I feel like he's gambled more since Super Bowl 39, the last time the Patriots won a title.
Right. Well, again, first of all, when I want to specifically talk about the 4th and 13 against the Giants in that Super Bowl, specifically, that is one of those what the hell was he thinking calls, because they could have tried the field goal there. It was a long field goal, but they needed those points at the end of the game. And you know what? They're not moving the ball against the Giants. And worst case scenario, you punt it away or you miss a field goal and you get them the ball at field position. That was my most questionable Belichick call. And about the 4th and 2 against the Colts that time with Peyton Manning, you know what? You don't want to give Peyton Manning the ball back. So you're always going to try and squeeze out as much time as you can with the ball and get the first downs. And as far as, I don't know, I'm having a lot of trouble criticizing Belichick's decisions. He was very limited in what he could do. His offense was a lot less banged up than his defense was. He wanted to keep his defense off the field. He wanted to keep the Ravens' offense off the field. And I don't question him going for it on 4th so much. I think that they did play a little bit desperate.
Desperate. Okay, I think the issue, by the way.
There?
Yes, we're still here. So elaborate a little more on the desperation. I kind of think, the Patriots, I don't want to say they're in trouble. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 8 years. They've been to two more AFC title games. But Brady eventually is going to run out of time. I believe he's 34 years old. So what do you look for the Patriots in the next couple of seasons to happen with their success?
I'm completely lost. I'm completely losing connection. I really can't hear anything that you're saying.
Okay, are you able to hear us now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, talk about the Patriots future-wise. What do you see happening from them in the next couple of seasons?
Well, let's put it this way. They don't really have a lot of high draft picks. And you know how good Belichick is at stealing draft picks later. But you know what? Brady isn't getting any younger. Welker isn't getting any younger. The base of their team is not getting younger. You don't have that many great young guys. I mean, you got Gronk, who's pretty good. Hernandez is still pretty young. And you've got some guys on the defense that you can look at for the future. But I don't know. This may have been their last real chance. You know, you got them up there every year pretty much at one of the top 2-3 teams in the AFC. But I don't know. Their window is definitely getting narrower and narrower every year, and they're going to just have to. Their chances are running out. they're gonna, if they can't do it this next year, they may be done.
All right, Tank, let's talk about the Falcons' perspective. I want to talk about these losers and where they go from here. The Falcons finally get the playoff win. Matt Ryan gets his first playoff win. Is Tony Gonzalez going to come back next season, the tight end for the Falcons?
I love Tony Gonzalez. I think he played a hell of a game. He really gave it everything he had. And you know what? He built his quarterback out on a bunch of key situations, and not to mention that touchdown. Tony Gonzalez may be the best tight end of all time, and he may stay that way for the next 20, 30 years. You don't know. I don't know, but I think pretty much I think he wants to hang up his shoes right now. You know, football's a rough game. You can't stay around forever. And the amount of beating these guys take every year, I don't think people understand the amount of violence that they go through, how tough it is for them physically. On the other hand, football is somewhat of a drug, so you don't know whether the guy will be able to walk away from it or he's going to just Brett Favre and say, I'm retiring, and then come back 4 or 5 times.
That is for sure. All right, Tank, let's get a breakdown of Super Bowl 47. Let's first talk about the X Factors. Who do you see as an X Factor for both sides in the big ball game?
Well, I like, first of all, I think that Crabtree has suddenly emerged as like one of the big receivers, and Kaepernick loves throwing the ball to him all of a sudden, and he's been big in the playoffs. He was big towards the end of the regular season once Kaepernick got the start. As much focus as you make on the running game and how they can pound the ball and run out the clock, I think Crabtree is going to be a very difficult guy to cover. I think they're going to need to have Ed Reed on his side of the ball most of the time, which is going to make it possible for the other receivers to get which it'll make it easier for the other receivers to get open. As far as the Ravens X factor, they've been moving the ball really well on offense, surprisingly, because their offense tends to sputter at times. But I just think first I really like the way Joe Flacco has played this playoffs. He's played clutch football. He's gotten a bunch of very key comebacks. Only one big comeback, but he's gotten a bunch of very big plays. I mean, in the Denver game, they came back like 3 or 4 times. That was an incredible game. First of all, I gotta say, last week was my favorite playoff round of all time.
Really?
Don't you think?
Wait, elaborate. I want to hear that. Go ahead, elaborate. Oh, you mean the divisional round? The divisional round was such a great. It was such a great round. 4 great football games. It was, yes. Unbelievable. Especially the Broncos-Falcons game. I don't think I left my TV for 3 hours. I was glued. Everything about it was fantastic. Back and forth. A lot of great plays, great stars. The atmosphere, everything I just thought was superb. And same with the Falcons-Seahawks game. I mean, come on, that second half was off the hook. It was just unbelievable. Agreed. There was another. We had 2 excellent games. Anyway. 2 of the greatest games we've seen in probably 5-10 years was the stuff that happened last week in the divisional round. All right, talk about some more variables. Who do you see, again, in the 49ers, Ravens? I feel the momentum is with the Ravens, but talk about the external stuff, not just the players on the field, but the external stuff regarding Super Bowl 47. Right. Well, anytime that you're not just the players on the field. Okay. Well, first of all, you got the 2 brothers going at it, the Harbaughs, Jim and John. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jim and John. Jim and John, correct. I keep on getting them mixed up. I was going to say Eli and Peyton. I was like, wait, that's the wrong brothers. Right. Brothers galore. Yeah. Right. Jim and John Harbaugh. That is an outstanding story all on its own. And it's the whole thing, how they always say that when they were growing up, their father used to say, who's got it better than us?
No one. And, right now, nobody's got it better than them. These guys are going to the Super Bowl against each other. Supposedly, they're not even gonna talk before the game. They're just gonna text each other.
Yes.
I think it's a little that's pretty crazy that they're. First of all, people would kill in order to win this game. I think there was one player who once said, "I'd run over my mom in order to win the Super Bowl," if they told me that's what it would take. And this is a crazy story all on its own. But just to see that both these teams have overcome a lot in order to get here. I mean, John Harbaugh. I think that's John. John is the Niners.
No, Jim is the Niners.
Jim is the Niners, right? Jim is the Niners coming. This is his second year from coaching college, and look what he's done to the Niners from the disaster that they were before he came, and now they're forced. Last year they nearly made the Super Bowl because of a couple missed punts. They missed it. This year, both these teams came so close last year and lost in the final seconds of their respective conference games to teams that I felt they should have beaten.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah, both of these teams let that last year slip away. So it just means so much more to them to reach it this year, and only one of them can come out victor. Personally, I hope it's the Ravens. I'm not. I don't know. Something about the Niners seems very unlikable. Not that the Ravens are the most friendly and lovable team, but I don't know. I'm just not sold. They seem arrogant for a team that just made it big.
All right. No, I hear that point. All right, Tank, last question before we let you go. Give us your prediction. Who is winning Super Bowl 47 and the score?
Well, first of all, we're going to have to see the injury report come game time. It's not something that I can say right now as far as that. But when I look at everything altogether, as much as I don't, they've got a better team. The question is whether that Ray Lewis momentum, that what do I call it? What do you call it? That inspiration that Ray Lewis gives them is going to take them to the Super Bowl. Going to take them to the win in the Super Bowl, or whether the skill will win out in the end. And personally, I see this being a very close game. I think it'll end something like 31-28. I see the Niners coming out on top.
All right, there you go. 31-28. San Francisco 49ers is the prediction of Tank. Tank, thanks so much for being on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Enjoy the game. We will be in touch.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That was Amram Tank Sherby here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. We're going to take a commercial break, and on the other side, the author of Modern Day Maccabees, Andy Gershman. This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
We're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hey folks, Kagan here. As you know, I'm always staying on top of the fitness world, keeping up with current trends. One form of exercise that's been around for ages and is currently being rediscovered is suspension bodyweight training. So if you're looking for a way to get in shape, improve your health, and train your body to move in new ways, then the X1 by Israel Gym Systems is for you. Find out more on our website at www.israelgym.com or look for our page on Facebook, Israel Gym Systems X1. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed frequent flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S. U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Thank you for tuning in to us. We're here until midnight, local time in the Holy Land. So much great sports to talk about. Of course, the dominant theme of tonight's episode is the Super Bowl 47, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Baltimore Ravens. And so many different angles to this game. Super Bowl week, or Super Bowl the 2 weeks before, is probably the best time in all of sports. You still have great football talk. You have head coaches being hired, hot stove talk in baseball, basketball getting a full swing, March Madness right around the corner. So it's just a great time of the year to be discussing sports here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. And a reminder to check out the store tab by clicking, a reminder to be checking out the store by clicking on the store tab. Great items such as T-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. On the line right now to analyze Super Bowl 47, the author of Modern Day Maccabees, Andy Gershman. Andy, how you doing out there? Andy, can you hear us? Okay, looks like we lost him for a second. We'll try to get him back on. So bear with us, please. Again, we're having a lot of different craziness occur as this is the most hectic time of the year. We have our journalists, our people on the ground in a bunch of different areas, and it is very imperative that they get the information in general. Andy's going on the road, by the way. We'll talk about that a little bit more. On the line right now, I believe we have the author of Modern Day Maccabees, Andy Gershman. Andy, how you doing out there?
Hello?
Andy, this is Ari Louis. Can you hear us?
No.
Okay. We'll try to make do with what we can here. So,
now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the Tom Brady kick. What did you think about that against Ed Reed? Ed Reed said Tom Brady apologized. There is some talk about fining Tom Terrific.
I can't hear you.
Okay. What about right now? Are you able to hear us right now?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think of Tom Brady's kick against Ed Reed? Okay. Hello? All right.
I'm not hearing much.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a commercial break and try to figure this out. This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hey folks, Kagan here. As you know, I'm always staying on top of the fitness world, keeping up with current trends. One form of exercise that's been around for ages and is currently being rediscovered is suspension bodyweight training. So if you're looking for a way to get in shape, improve your health, and train your body to move in new ways, then the X1 by Israel Gym Systems is for you. Find out more on our website at www.israelgym.com or look for our page on Facebook, Israel Gym Systems X1. Israel Gym X1, Higia Hazman.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
All right, back here on Louis Live. It's just been that kind of show because of all the craziness, just a hectic time in the sports world. So we are having some technical difficulties. Please bear with us as we try to deliver as much information as we possibly can regarding Super Bowl 47. I want all of my listeners, basically all my listeners who are listening to this program to get as much information as they possibly can so they can be well informed for the game. They can make right predictions, look good in front of their friends, know different things that are going on. So this is something that we want to deliver here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. We're going to go out to Andy and see if we can get in touch with him. We were having a little difficulty with his phone line, so we'll try to get him on right now and talk about the AFC title game, the NFC title game, and, of course, Super Bowl 47. It's going to be a dandy. At this point, we've had 5 predictions, 3 for the 49ers, 2 for the Ravens. On the line right now, the author of Modern Day Maccabees, Andy Gershman. Andy, how you doing out there?
Hey, doing well, Ari Louis. How are you today?
Excellent. I'm probably doing a little bit better than you, though, I imagine. I'm sure you got a little bit of flack from Deep Voice Brian.
Not really.
Interesting.
You know I'm a psychological genius, so I congratulated him as soon as the game ended. What was he going to say to me?
Okay, very, very smart. Has there been any comments made regarding your visit to Dougie's with a Patriot sweater on you?
I see it's been shared a few times. I'm a shameless self-promoter, so I'm good with it.
All right, so you say kind of any publicity is good publicity, basically. No bad publicity.
Well, Ari Louis taught me that at a very young age.
Well said, and of course, with your promotion of your book, it very well could. That's something that could go viral, and it can help you with your book. Now, what did you make of Tom Terrific's kick against Ed Reed? When I watched it, I thought it was kind of strange, and I also thought that was bad for Tom Brady.
What do you mean his kick? His leg flew up by accident. It was a bad slide.
But he could have gotten hurt.
It's not like the guy ever played baseball. Oh, wait, he did play baseball. I guess, see, to me, having a Ravens player call anyone else dirty kind of cheapens everything, so nothing will happen of this. We all know that. The league is going to take a look at it. They say, what are they going to do? They're going to go to Brady, and he's going to say, what? My leg popped up by accident. And that's going to be the end of it.
Right. They're going to say, oh, we understand you could do no wrong. You're the golden boy. Everybody likes you. Even Ed Reed didn't seem so mad. Ed Reed said Tom apologized to him.
He did. And, the funniest is Pollard, who comes out, Bernard Pollard comes out and says it was dirty. Let's just go back and check Bernard Pollard's resume. He tore Brady's ACL. He tore Welker's ACL. He broke Gronkowski's arm. And Stephen Ridley still needs to know what planet he's on because of that hit. So So for Bernard Pollard to call anybody cheap, he needs to first look in the mirror.
I definitely agree with that. I don't know what he's thinking with his resume about calling someone dirty. So at the end of the day, you don't think Tom Brady will be fined even a $10,000 fine?
No, I think Tom Brady will go home and he'll spoon Giselle and forget about football for a while.
And I believe it was it 2 seasons ago where Tom Brady had surgery like the day after they lost, something to that effect.
Yeah.
So this offseason might not be too happy for him, but with Giselle it might be a little bit better. Do you think, though, there's
it's sort of like, I saw this, spoof. I guess it was supposed to be making fun of Tom Brady. There was a picture of him pushing a stroller and Giselle and he were talking, and she said, "So where do you want to go to watch the Super Bowl this year?"
Right.
See, I'm thinking as a consolation prize, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal, especially
no.
the amount of money they make, too, on top of it. Do you is there a double standard, though, regarding penalties to offensive players versus defensive players? It seems like if that was a defensive guy, if that was Ed Reed to Tom Brady somehow kicking him, that he would have gotten a fine.
Well, but that's been going on forever. I mean, a running back can face mask and stiff arm a defender and take him to the ground with his face mask. No one cares. A defender touches a running back's face mask and it's 15 yards. I mean, it's always, the only time that it's always benefited the offensive player. I mean, even. What are the chances you see an offensive pass interference? Now, it's shifted a little bit, but very little over the time. You always see defense pass interference. So I think it's, look, I hate to say it, no one really cares about defensive players. They care about offensive skilled position players. That's what the league is built around, and that's who's going to get protected. So, I know Matt Castle had a nice year, didn't make the playoffs when Brady was out, but go ask the commissioner if he wants Matt Castle starting in front of Tom Brady, and the answer is clearly no.
Right. People are coming out to the games, paying their money to see quarterbacks. In fact, I always contend this, the average fan that goes to a game, if you sat him while the game was going on and say, hey, tell me 2 linemen, most of them can't do it. I don't think most fans can name 2 or 3 linemen on their own team. I doubt it.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. I agree completely. And I had this argument with somebody the other day because, obviously I write for Redskins 24/7, and I happen to be a Cowboys and Patriots fan. And so they were questioning my ability to write objectively. And I questioned them by asking them to quickly name me, and when I say quickly, that doesn't give them time to Google, quickly name me 7 defensive starters. And, of course, that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah, that would be pretty hard to do that. And it was funny, during the Broncos-Ravens playoff game, they kept talking about Peyton Manning, Ray Lewis over and over and over, and I was thinking, there's about 50-plus guys on each team. And this game is more than Peyton Manning and Ray Lewis.
No, it's not.
Even though Holiday had 2 touchdowns, or I got to say that Jacoby Jones had Torrey Rice. All these people were more a part of it than just simply Peyton Manning and Ray Lewis. What did you make of the NFC title game? The 49ers down 17 points. Colin Kaepernick's this young guy, 25 years old, only 9 NFL starts. That was his 9th NFL start. But they kept their cool and came back. So were you surprised, basically, that you saw them do that?
I don't know. I mean, I think they're great. I think they're a very good team. I have a feeling they're going to win. I don't know. I mean, the biggest thing the Ravens did for me against the Patriots was early in the game, they kept them out of the end zone. They kept them kicking field goals. And I don't think that's going to be the case against the 49ers. I think they can score. So, score touchdowns. Kaepernick is a completely different guy, and I want to see who's going to be the spy on him. And I sure hope it's Ray Lewis.
That would be awesome. That would be very fitting in Ray's last game to be the spy on this, one of the best running quarterbacks we've seen pretty much in a long, long time. Before we talk more about the Super Bowl, I want to get your thoughts, because I'm sure you have a few of them. Phil Mickelson complaining about the Obama tax code. So give us your thoughts on it.
I don't really know much about it.
He basically was talking about how much taxes he had to pay. He claimed for some reason he was paying 60% on that effect, but he actually made a statement about it. Even though Phil makes about Phil makes about $30 million a year, and are you mad when these rich athletes complain about bills, taxes, any stuff that the regular folk have to go with on a regular basis? Andy, did we lose you? Can you hear us? All right. Looks like we lost him. Let's see if we get Andy back on here. Again, this is Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. A reminder to check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab. Great items such as T-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Andy, looks like we lost you. Are you back on with us?
I'm back with you.
Excellent.
So, yeah, like I was saying, I'm not really that sympathetic with guys in that tax bracket because we don't really relate to each other that well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, something about it. Again, he's making $30 million. He could deal with the taxes, in my opinion. What did you make of this?
Hey, let me ask.
Sure.
What's that, guy?
Well, no, go ahead. Ask your question, please.
I was going to ask you, what did you think of all this Shannon Sharp stuff with Bill Belichick?
Shannon Sharp stuff with Bill Belichick. I didn't really catch that. What happened?
Well, apparently after the game, Steve Tasker went to interview Bill Belichick, and he refused the interview for CBS. Now, he did the interview for the national media, which was the one he was obligated to do, but he didn't do it for CBS. So they go back to CBS, and Shannon Sharp just goes off about how classless he is and blah, blah, blah. And, for 5 years they win, and he always does an interview, but when they lose, he's always nasty, blah, blah, blah. So my question is, who cares? I mean, am I just being a homer here? If Bill Belichick did an interview with Steve Tasker, what was he going to say to him?
Yeah, he's gonna say nothing. He was
just going to be a jackass, just like he was to the national media. I mean, they're like, so what did you think about the hit on Ridley? Was that a fumble? He said the referee said it was a fumble. I said, well, what do you think? He said, it doesn't matter what I think. I wasn't calling the game. The referees were calling the game.
Yeah, that's typical Bill Belichick.
So, I mean, that's the kind of answers that he gives. So, I mean, Shannon Sharp should take notes from his old teammate, Tommy Jackson, on what's going to happen the next time he tries to get an interview with Bill Belichick.
And for those who don't know that are listening, before the Patriots won their second Super Bowl, Tom Jackson came out when the team was 1-2 and said the players hate their coach. And after the Patriots won the Super Bowl, which is months and months later, you would think Bill Belichick would give up the grudge. And Tommy Jackson said congratulations, and Bill Belichick said F you. So Bill Belichick remembers things, holds grudges, and he's not going to be happy with Shannon Sharp for a long, long time.
Right. And you know what? I'm okay with that. These guys, look, I consider myself a part of the media. I've had to do interviews. Both of us have had to sit through awkward interviews, like interviews where, hey, why you foul so much? That kind of interview. Yeah. Where the guy's team had just lost, and you could tell he didn't want to talk. And you know what? That guy didn't say much at all. Think about it. Who wants to talk after you lose? It's okay to show emotion. Because here's the deal. If Belichick got on there and said nothing, they would have said, oh, man, he never says anything. Why does he have to act like that? And if he doesn't get on there, it's, oh, what a lose, how classless. So he's in a no-win situation. And you know what? It's okay to be pissed off if you lose. Would you rather, in all due respect to Russell Wilson, who you could tell felt like he was on borrowed, time there, or house money, whatever you want to say. But he was all jolly, ha-ha. I thought, what a great season we had. No one expected. I kind of like the coach to be pissed off a little bit.
That's true. In fact, I mean, if the guy's too happy, for example, Gronkowski last year went to a party and danced after the Patriots lost. So if you're upset at that, you then have to be happy with Bill Belichick being upset enough not to do an interview.
All right.
So there's a point there.
Like I said, I'm okay with that. I am really okay with that.
Speak with Andy Gershman, author of Modern Day Maccabees, here on Louis Live at Israel Sports Radio. As Super Bowl time comes, the popular question around Israel Sports Radio is, who is going to be the X Factor? So who is the X Factor in your opinion for both squads?
The X Factor. Can't be Colin Kaepernick.
I doubt that, yeah. Or Flacco.
Can't be Joe Flacco. Let's see, Ari. I am going to go. I think, actually the person I'm thinking of is not really an X Factor either. But, at 49ers, I'm going to go with Vernon Davis as the X Factor. I know he's one of their better players, but I think he's the guy that is really doesn't get nearly the media that Kaepernick or any of those other guys get. But Vernon Davis is a stud. He's fast. He's got he's got great hands. He's a great tight end out of the University of Maryland. He's the guy, if you remember, that Singletary singled out, sent him off the field during a game 2 years ago, and everyone thought his career was over. And he's a stud. So I think Vernon Davis for the 49ers is going to be a factor. And I think for the Ravens, I think it's going to be Jacoby Jones, the guy who made the catch late against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Because Anquan Bolden he's get up and go. I mean, you've known Anquan Bolden for a while as a Cardinals fan. Everyone was kind of down on him a bit, but he had 2 touchdowns against the Patriots, and that's what happens when teams start leaning on, Torrey Smith. They go to Anquan Bolden. Well, I think San Francisco's defense is good enough where they're going to be able to cover, Smith and Bolden, and look for Jacoby Jones or either him or Pitta, the tight end, both to show up.
Now, I might change my mind on this, but I'll tell you, for the Ravens right now, I'm going to say Bolden is my X factor because when he scores 2 touchdowns, like you saw, the Ravens seem to be unbeatable. I'm going to throw this out there. I might change my mind, but right now I would say the 49ers X factor is David Akers because this very well could come down to a field goal, and he's been very spotty, and that really could be the difference in the game.
No, it's a great point because he has shown some inconsistencies here, and it has not been good. But we'll have to see what happens. In the game, the big game. What do they call it? It's the big game, right? I think also, by the time the Super Bowl rolls around, I think we will all agree that we hate the Harbaugh family. I think that might happen as well. That's just me being me.
Well, there was an interesting question that was asked on part of the interruption. They said, who should the parents root for, Jim or John? And Tony Kornheiser said John because John has not had the smoothest road, basically, and Jim has had more success, and he had more success as a player, all this kind of stuff. But you have 2 sons that they were coaching against each other. You couldn't pick one over the other.
No, not at all.
So I don't understand that at all.
I don't know that I could actually pick one. I think, they'll have a little chat with them before, and they'll say, look, we want you guys to both have a great game, and we want you to know that in the end you're both brothers, and whoever wins, and, we're going to probably be so happy for the one who wins. At the same time, we're going to feel so bad for the one who loses.
Right.
There's really no other way around that, like you said, you just can't pick one of them. That's awful to have to do.
Yeah, that's, not appropriate. I think the way you said it is good. It's a tough spot for the parents to be in. This has never happened. You really haven't had brothers coached against each other in any professional sport, any championship, obviously. It happened in regular season, but with the Harbaughs. But it's a unique circumstance. People have talked a while about the Mannings playing against each other in a Super Bowl, which could have happened in the year Super Bowl 42. But now this is coaching. I think Jim is actually the better coach. We were talking about this off air of them helping each other, the brothers helping each other. Apparently they've agreed not to call each other before the Super Bowl. They might text, but they're not going to call. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's the only right thing to do, especially after what's gone on with this whole thing with, have you seen this with the Raiders, with Callahan and everything, that he tanked the Super Bowl and blah, 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 blah. Well, it's funny how no one mentioned that until he got hired for another job. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
So I personally, I feel like, they probably should just keep it as professional as possible and keep it as, it's them, it's one against the team, not so much against the brother.
Now you brought this up, the Callahan thing. I find this a very weird story because there's no way I could see anyone in their right mind losing a Super Bowl on purpose. That just doesn't make any sense. But Tim Brown is not a knucklehead. He has a pretty good reputation, and apparently Jerry Rice has backed him. I tend to think more Callahan messed up out of incompetence. I think changing the game plan 36 hours before was incompetent. I think not changing the audibles to a guy, John Gruden, who coached the team a year before was not that smart. I think it's more incompetence, but do you disagree and think that potentially Callahan threw a Super Bowl?
I completely disagree. I completely disagree. What would be the point in throwing a Super Bowl?
Right.
They claim they hated the organization that much. No way. It's just no way possible. And, like I said, if Tim Brown and Jerry Rice had said this the day after the Super Bowl, I'd be okay with it. But, here we are. How many years later?
About 10 years. Yeah, 10 years.
10 years later, and now it's a discussion. I'm just not buying it, And look, is it strange that all those things? Yeah, but we've seen stranger.
We certainly have. I mean, maybe they're trying to get some. Jerry Rice is on TV. Maybe he wants more attention. Maybe Tim Brown wants to do some type of deal. I don't know what their motivation is, their mindset, but it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, we know that if someone's going to lose a game on purpose, it's going to be in the regular season.
Usually week 16.
Around week 16, yeah. All right, Andy,
yeah.
Last couple things before we let you go. Let's get a prediction. Who is going to win Super Bowl 47 and the score?
Ooh. Do I have to do it now?
You want to do it next week? I'm going to have you on next week, too, before the game. You want to wait a week?
Yeah, I think I want to wait a week.
All right.
I'm trying to get the hatred of the Ravens out of my mind before I make this.
Right. Anger clouds the mind. It's true.
I don't want an angry pick.
Right.
And at the same time, I don't want Ray Lewis to kill me. So
yeah, no, that wouldn't be good. Because he would get away with it because he's Ray Lewis. He gets away with murder. That's what he does. He does best. I will say this.
Lose you again?
No, you're still here. We can still hear you. Whatever it's worth, I've had 5 predictions so far in this show, 3 for the 49ers, 2 for the Ravens. I expect it to be about 50-50, and we'll see throughout the show if I'm going to get 50-50. But I just think I think whoever wins, it's going to be a close game. I would. Do you agree with that?
I think no. I don't think it's going to be a close game.
Really?
Yeah, I think whoever wins is going to crush the other teams. I really do.
Wow.
Most Super Bowls are not close games.
Well, the last 10 have been. If you go through it, you go. The Patriots. All 3 of the Patriots were. All 5 actually. The 3 wins and 2 losses. The Cardinals won.
Yeah, you're right. I missed on that. You're right. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be close. I really don't. I haven't decided which blowout way I'm going. So.
You could say, by the way, that since the last 10 or so have been close, that we're mathematically Since the last 10 Super Bowls have been close, we're mathematically due for a blowout. You could say it that way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You're right.
There you go. There you go. All right, Andy, before we let you go, you're going on a tour, a speaking tour to promote your book. Where can people see you in person and get an autographed copy of Modern Day Maccabees?
Well, Ari Louis, I will be in Chicago February 16th and 17th at Renewed Chicago, and then in April, Renewed Baltimore University. I will also have the book is available on Amazon.com, Modern Day Maccabees. Check out some of my thoughts on the Redskins at Redskins 24x7, like 24 times 7, like every day, all day. And yeah, that's what I've got going on.
All right, great stuff. Andy, thank you for being on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
All right, take care.
Be well. All right, that was Andy Gershman here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. We're going to stay here and not take a commercial break and bring on Jim Williams to discuss more of the business side of sports. Of course, Jim is a 7-time Emmy Award winner and writes for the Washington Examiner. So we're gonna get also into the whole Callahan situation, Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, and all the allegations that have been swirling and circling around Coach Callahan, who was coach of the Raiders. On the line right now for the Washington Examiner, 7-time Emmy Award winner, Jim Williams. Jim, how you doing out there?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Ari?
Doing great. Again, so much sports to talk about. Let's talk first about this allegation from Tim Brown that was backed up by Jerry Rice that Coach Callahan through Super Bowl 37, we don't know why he would do this, against his former boss, John Gruden. Of course, the Raiders were blown out that game. The Tampa Bay Bucks said we knew the plays that were coming. So what do you make of all this, and why is Tim Brown saying this 10 years after the fact?
I don't know. I know he's backing off of it today quite a bit. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, you coach if you put yourself in Callahan's position, he's now got an opportunity to be a head coach in the National Football League. He's led the Raiders to the Super Bowl, and he's facing, the guy who hired him in John Gruden, who's coaching Tampa Bay. Both those guys know each other very well, obviously, because Gruden served, Callahan served on Gruden's staff. There's absolutely no possible way that a coach who has, accomplished getting to the Super Bowl, in my mind, is going to throw the Super Bowl to make the other coach look good. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just don't understand what in the world for doing that. So you said Tim Brown is backing off, but did he perhaps say that? Is he trying to get some type of TV deal? I mean, why would Tim Brown?
I have no idea what. I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, unless he has an axe to grind with Callahan, who's now calling the plays or will be calling the plays for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I don't know how Jerry Rice got into this. I have no idea. Makes no sense. Again, these are reputable guys, but this is not a reputable story. I mean, anybody who watched that game realized that, John Gruden knew, obviously, what Rich Gannon was going to do because John Gruden worked closely with Rich Gannon and Callahan the year before. But if you look at it, I mean, that game was won not by Tampa Bay's offense or, for that matter, Oakland's offense. It was won by Tampa Bay's defense, a defense that, as you guys remember, obviously, Tony Dungy had just left the year before to go to the Colts. So, John Gruden inherited, defense. So, no, I tend to believe that this one is some sour grapes between Tim Brown, perhaps him getting a little bit of a backup from Jerry Rice on it. But I don't think this story's going to go much further. I think it's running its course because it really is a he said, she said situation, or in this case, a he said, situation. And there's just no way under the sun I can think of a coach wanting to tank not just a game but the Super Bowl because of his affection for and respect for the other coach. I mean, that's just silly.
Now, one of the things that was brought up was the change of game plan 36 hours before the Super Bowl. And somewhat, apparently we were told that it was going to be more of a running attack, and they changed it more to a passing attack. If that was true, and, I'm sure you're familiar with Al Davis's work, do you think Al Davis said that? Also, the whole Barrett-Robbins mental breakdown went up to Tijuana. Was that related to this game plan change, or did he have the breakdown, and then the coaching staff said, we have to change this to passing because we don't have our best blocker for the run game? So do you happen to have any inside information of why the game plan was changed?
I don't look. If that circa what was it, the 2002 Super Bowl? If you at that point in time, that was Monty Kiffin's famous defense. I know John Lynch, who played on that team, and a couple of other, Warren Sapp. That was not a team you wanted to run on, or frankly could run on. It was a very potent defensive front that caused all kinds of grief. I think that Callahan may have established the pass offense in the final 36 hours, figuring, you know what, our best bet to try to win this game is to try to throw on them, because we're not going to be able to run much on them. And I think that perhaps that was where they were going with it, because people who tried to run on Tampa at that period of time didn't have too much success. And, not that the passing had much more, but if you look at what went into that team, Rich Gannon, the quarterback, was pretty mobile, and also was able to find, he had some quality receivers. I mean, we just named two of them, in Tim Brown and Jerry Rice. So it would seem to me that if you've got two big stud receivers like Rice and Tim Brown, that passing the ball would make more sense than having a run smash mouth offense into a defense that literally probably has 4 or 5, but during those days probably had 4 or 5, maybe even 6 Pro Bowl players on them, most of them on the front line and linebackers.
Yeah, I think that was, again, Tim Brown's one of the greatest of all time. He never won a Super Bowl, but you look at his numbers right there. Jerry Rice probably is the greatest, the receiver to ever play in the NFL. Now, I'm curious about the ratings. We've been keeping an eye on the ratings throughout the postseason. Championship week, you have the Ray Lewis Patriots story, the 49ers Falcons. What were the ratings like for the title games?
Well, they were good. I mean, they were the best ratings since last year's Super Bowl. So that was good. But they were not as good as 2006. So they weren't all-time record ratings. And I think in both cases you had situations where they weren't really close toward the end. And that usually is your helper. The week before, as you can remember, 3 of the 4 games pretty much had some drama as we went to the final moments of the game. Not so much this time around. This time around, both teams had, San Francisco came back and had that stunning comeback, but it was, as far as the Baltimore-New England game, that one was kind of settled about midway through the fourth quarter. So, no, the ratings were very good. They just weren't as good as 2006, but still, all in all, quite good.
And 2006, of course, the AFC title game that year, Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady. That's where Peyton Manning finally gets over the hump. At this point, that is the highest-rated AFC title game, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the legends of those two quarterbacks, and they're clearly headed for the Hall of Fame when it's all over. So yeah, I mean, that was when you have Brady and Peyton Manning, facing off against each other, you're going to have a massive number, and that's what I'm sure CBS would have loved to have seen, from a standpoint of ratings, that Peyton Manning with the Denver Broncos and of course Brady with the New England Patriots, which they didn't get. They got the Ravens and the Patriots.
Right, and they were probably killing themselves over that. And then the Ravens going to not only are playing in the game, they win the game. Obviously, let's get some financial numbers on the Super Bowl. It's going to be played in New Orleans. How much money is that worth to the town? To everyone involved. Well, I guess let's start with the town. Usually, I think Phoenix made about $300 million when it was there for Super Bowl 42. How much money is it worth for New Orleans to have the Super Bowl there?
Well, let's just start by saying it's not worth what they tell you it's worth, okay? Because there's a lot of money that comes in. The hotels will make money because the hotels are charging probably as much as 5 to 6 times room rate. So let's say a room is, the $125, a night range. For the 5 days that you have to book it for the Super Bowl time, you will be paying for that $125 room anywhere from $700 to as much as $900 for a room that you can get the day after the Super Bowl for $125. So there's that. The tickets, for the most part, are tickets that are sold via lottery to a number of corporate clients as well as some season ticket holders. So there will be some fans there who are, representing both the 49ers and the Ravens of the nearly 78,000, 80,000 people in the Superdome. But at the end of the day, the vast majority, I'd say about maybe 40,000 will be fans that came from both cities. The rest of them are corporate clients and people who attend Super Bowls, regardless of who's in them. So, what kind of money that you make in New Orleans or in Super Bowl in general is 5 days, figuring that you'll have max hotel space for basically, let's say, 160,000 people will be around there, because it's usually twice the amount of people that actually attend the game. They just go there to party and have a good time. So really, you're looking at the economic impact is on rental cars, it's on hotels, it's on restaurants. So from that standpoint, I don't think that we're talking $300 million. That's an awful lot of money for a weekend. For a 5-day period. You're probably talking about half that, which is certainly not a bad economic impact. And if you basically ran all the numbers on all the Super Bowls, it's usually half of, or maybe 2/3 of what they project it to be.
All right, so with that production, what then do you expect the final number to be for the city of New Orleans?
You mean in dollars and cents?
In dollars and cents, yes.
Okay. It's going to be probably worth, maybe $80 to $100 million, maybe a little more. That's a lot of money for 5 days.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And it's a lot of money. As I say, when you get these civic leaders who come out and tell you this is what it's going to bring, they seldom reach anywhere near the numbers that they say they do. That being said, for a 5-day period to have, $80 to $100 million worth of commerce in your town is not a bad thing.
Yeah, certainly not, especially when you weren't going to get any if the game's not there, and it's more than any other town because they don't have the game. Now, the highest rated Super Bowl of all time, I'm just taking a guess, is it Super Bowl 42 when the Patriots were trying to go 19-0? Is that the highest rated Super Bowl? Jim, can you hear us?
You faded out there, Ari, for some reason.
Sure.
I didn't hear the question at all.
What is the highest rated Super Bowl ever? Is it Super Bowl 42 with the Patriots and the Giants when they try to go 19-0, or is there another game that I haven't thought of that is the highest rated Super Bowl?
Well, in rating-wise, yes. I think the Patriots and the Giants is that. Actual share-wise, remember that we're talking about less televisions in the United States now than there were. There's more now than there ever has been. So the share aspect of it probably would have fallen somewhere in one of the Dallas Super Bowls, probably Dallas against, one of the Dallas Super Bowls, probably against the
Dallas Steelers, maybe Super Bowl 30?
Yeah, I was going to say Dallas Steelers, thank you. I can't remember which one of those would be, but they probably had a higher condensed share. But, yeah, I mean, there's no question the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the New York Giants, where you had Brady and Eli Manning was in 42 was the highest rated, but there's an outside chance that because you've got the Harbaugh brothers involved in this one, that you could see a very sturdy rating. I mean, quite frankly, there is no such thing as a bad Super Bowl rating. There's just less than what it was before. So the ratings are so high that it's like the World Series and other things. You buy them if you are the network. You want the Super Bowl to promote everything else that's on your air. So consider it as basically a 6-hour commercial for the network and for, what they're trying to accomplish. So people will be seeing a lot of CBS's, as a matter of fact, CBS is literally going to do their morning show, their evening news, and a number of other programs, all from New Orleans for the entire week, all the way from Mondays through through Sunday. So everything's going to be, including Face the Nation, which is a political show, will be done in New Orleans. So they are getting their money's worth out of it, and they're going to use it to publicize and promote everything on the network. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of promos for programming on CBS, and CBS will use it to promote. So that's why, standpoint, as I say, there's no bad rating, because what you're trying to do is get as much information about your network to an audience that may not know as much about your network as you hook them to.
Yeah, and we've seen this kind of a theme thing where you're going to have stars of TV shows all of a sudden show up to the Super Bowl,
right,
and they're going to pan on them, and it's going to be a coincidence, but really not. So it's kind of what you have to do, and it's the reason why they pay. Actually, I'm curious, what is the licensing fee? How much did CBS have to pay to get the Super Bowl on their station?
I'm sorry?
How much did CBS have to pay?
I can't hear you, Art.
Sure. How much did CBS have to pay to get the Super Bowl on their station?
What does the networks pay?
Yeah, what did the network pay? What did CBS pay to get it?
It's part of the contract. I mean, it's part of these billion-dollar contracts that CBS, NBC, and Fox pay. Is you get the Super Bowl comes as part of the package. There's no specific dollar figure that is broken out that is involved in that you're buying the Super Bowl. It's just included in the package of the of your rights fees.
Okay.
So that's how it's not a specific. I mean, I suppose you could, if you wanted to break down all of the different amounts of money that they spend, you could factor in and say, well, then the Super Bowl's worth $375 million to CBS or to Fox. But at the end of the day, it's really part of their overall contract that is specific. They don't pay extra for the Super Bowl. They simply, that's included in the when you're paying over $2 billion to the league, they tend to throw the Super Bowl in there too.
Yeah, that's not a bad consultation. Now, we've talked about ratings and share in the past. What is your prediction for the ratings for Super Bowl 47 and the share for both cities, for San Francisco and Baltimore?
I don't think it'll be as high rating. It might be in the top 4, as Super Bowls. It won't be the most highest rated one. I do believe in San Francisco and in Baltimore, you're looking at 80% or more of the televisions. If it's a close game, 80% or more of the televisions will be tuned to watching the game. I know that in the Baltimore, Washington area and in the San Francisco Bay Area, that employers are already setting themselves up for the day after, the Monday after Super Bowl, having sizable amounts of people not showing up.
Interesting. Wow. All right, so they are accepting it. They understand the way it is. It's very funny stuff. And
I'm not sure they're as accepting as we hope, but yeah,
they're dealing with
at least they're acknowledging it's going to happen.
Right. So, of course, this is the time where you generally see the best commercials being aired throughout the game because you have all these millions of people watching.
Right.
What's the fee this time around for a 30-second ad during Super Bowl 47?
I believe it starts around $2 million.
Wow.
I can give you a better, when we speak again next week, I can give you a better feel for it. But at this point in time, I think that's what the Super Bowl ads are. But the fun thing, as you say, is not necessarily as much as how much do they cost, but the creativity and the fun way that some of these companies take and utilize the spots, and obviously, you guys don't get to see in Israel the actual spots that we do.
Right, that's right.
But you get to see them on the internet afterwards, so that's always fun. But it's kind of funny. The ads are, there are a lot of people who tune in just to see what the Super Bowl ads are.
Right, that's right.
It's very much a very diverse audience. It's the only other time that you get an audience this diverse is really during the Olympics, because basically sports fans who know nothing about football or care nothing about football will watch this game just because of it's a happening, it's a party atmosphere. So that's why it's a very important cultural thing more than anything else.
It is so funny. It's so right on. I remember Super Bowl 39. I was watching at a Chabad house, and this Chabad rabbi, who I don't think ever watched football before, was just amazed with Terrell Owens. He was asking me questions galore. It was probably the first football game he saw on TV, but that's what the Super Bowl does. It brings in people from all different perspectives for a variety of different reasons. It's the biggest sporting event of the year, the commercials, everything involved, the party atmosphere. Jim, last question before we let you go.
I've got the number for you. It's
okay.
Actually going to be between $3.5 and $4 million.
Oh, my God. For 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Wow. And that has to be a record, right? It's never been that high, has it?
I don't think so.
Oh, my goodness.
It's pretty high.
All right.
And by the way, just for those of you out there who want who have a company and want to buy it, unfortunately, CBS has sold out all of the commercial ad time.
That's a shame there. Wow. All right, well, that's
same
good.
for them. Well, they'll be at the bank counting cash. So
yeah. They're going to deal with it. Wow, incredible stuff. All right, Jim, last question before we let you go. Obviously, it's a week and a half away, so if you want to change your prediction next week, that's fine. But at this point, what's your prediction of who's going to win the game and the score?
Ooh, that's hard. I mean, I think it's going to be close because I think that both teams have very good defenses. I think Kaepernick is kind of the X factor here. I think that it'll be interesting to see what Jim does to again, these guys know each other. We were just talking about John Gruden and Bill Callahan. You can't know each other better than brothers, and so you got two brothers, going at each other here. Very competitive guys, which is a lot of fun as well. I would say I'm going to go, only because I think they're the hotter team, I'm going to go with the Ravens to win. And I think it's going to be something in the neighborhood of 24-21 or 24-17 or something in that particular area. They seem to be. I mean, we've watched them against Denver. We watched them against the Patriots. They seem to be one of those destiny teams. And as good as the 49ers are, they had to come back from 17 points down in Atlanta on the road and won. So they're good, but I don't think the 49ers can fall 14 or 17 points behind the Ravens with the defense that the Ravens have and catch up. So I think the Ravens will win. I think it'll be a close game, and it's going to be fun to watch. I think that it'll be a 3-point game, could be a 7-point game, but it's not going to be a blowout either way. And the 49ers certainly have a team good enough to win. But if you have to pick, I guess I'll just have to go with the team that's hot right now. And it's kind of like last year. There's a lot of similarities between the Ravens this year and the Giants of last year in the way that they kind of, came into the playoffs stumbling and bumbling their way in. But once the playoffs started, they kicked it into an extra gear, and suddenly they got hot. So, right now, I think if you ask the Ravens, they would have loved to have played the Super Bowl this weekend.
Yeah.
Not going to happen that way. But
right.
I have great respect for Jimmy Harbaugh and the 49ers, but I just I'm curious as to how Colin Kaepernick is going to handle the Ravens defense, because it's very athletic and very quick. So should be fun to watch, that's for sure. We'll have plenty of time to go over it and analyze it and pick it apart.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've had 6 predictions so far about this game. 3 have picked the Ravens and 3 have picked the 49ers. So that tells you how close this game is going to probably be a week from Sunday. Jim, great stuff. Thank you for being on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. We will be in touch. Be well out there.
Always a pleasure, Ari. Take care, my friend.
Sure. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Jim Williams, 7-time Emmy Award winner here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. We're going to take a break, and on the other side, from the founder of OMG Poetry, Joe Robbins. So we'll not only talk about football, we're going to talk about the Yuri Foreman fight coming up, and we'll talk a little bit Dimitri Salito, who's fighting Hector Camacho Jr. in a few weeks as well. This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Hey folks, Kagan here. As you know, I'm always staying on top of the fitness world, keeping up with current trends. One form of exercise that's been around for ages and is currently being rediscovered is suspension bodyweight training. So if you're looking for a way to get in shape, improve your health, and train your body to move in new ways, then the X1 by Israel Gym Systems is for you. Find out more on our website at www.israelgym.com or look for our page on Facebook, Israel Gym Systems X1. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Our thanks to 7-time Emmy Award winner Jim Williams for coming on the program. It is 9:30 in the Holy Land. We're going to be here until midnight, so thank you for joining us. Tune in to us. If you're listening to us on TuneIn or Wonder Radio, go over to our website, IsraelSportsRadio.com, to check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab. We have great items such as T-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Also, yarmulkes with your favorite team on them. Price does include shipping, and we do ship all over the world. So that's the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab. Fun show tonight as we're getting breakdowns from all different angles regarding Super Bowl 47. And here to join us with that breakdown, the San Francisco 49ers #1 fan, Joseph D. Robbins. How you doing out there, Joe?
I'm great, Ari. Thanks. How are you guys tonight?
We're doing great, and so much to get into. We're going to get into some boxing talk with you, but I brought this up with Orr, who's from San Francisco, about the year in sports San Francisco is having. You had the Giants winning 2 out of 3 World Series. You're having the Warriors playing some pretty good basketball. Mark Jackson could be Coach of the Year. And here you have the 49ers going to the Super Bowl for the first time in over 15 years. So just as a fan of San Francisco sports, where do you rank this year comparatively to other years?
This is right up there. Clearly, if the Niners are able to beat the Ravens and win, it'll be one of the greatest years ever. But I think also the playoff run that the A's made coming out of nowhere, you mentioned what the Warriors are doing. It was the same thing for the A's. They were projected to finish last or second to last in the division. Then not only did they unseat Texas as the crowns of the AL West, they made it to the playoffs, and then obviously the Giants ended up winning. So, yeah, every sport, the entire Bay Area, Grantland, Bill Simmons' website, a great sports site, as you know, voted the Bay Area the sports city of the year, and I think that this year is definitely up there with the greats, and if the Niners get the victory a week from Sunday, it'll cement it as definitely the best in my lifetime.
Now, one of those things that's really interesting is the concept of the L.A. fan. The L.A. fan is known as a lazy fan, leaves in the third quarter of Laker games, even if he paid $5,000 for a front row seat, a floor seat. But San Francisco fans aren't like that. That's a misnomer. They are not L.A. fans, correct?
Definitely correct. One of the stories that I always tell as an example of the point you just made is the Warriors. Everyone knows the struggles they had during the Cohan ownership and that whole fiasco, all the years without making the playoffs. And everyone saw how rabid the fans were when the Warriors, as the 8th seed, upset the number 1 seed Dallas Mavericks in their return to the playoffs. But even up the years before that, the Warriors were always top 5 in attendance in the NBA. So even when the team was terrible, they were selling out every game because of the dedication of the fans. And that is something that, is definitely a Bay Area sort of in the fiber of the Bay Area sports fans. And a lot of people ask me how people in the Bay Area can be fans of, they can root for the A's and the Giants and the different teams. It's easy to root for the Sharks because they're the only team but in hockey, but how can you root for teams in both, two teams in the same sport? And I think the answer is it's that sort of sense of Bay Area love, and you see that with all the fan bases coming together. Obviously, there are fans who only like one team and hate the other team, but I think in general it's very supportive, and that's definitely not the case here in New York with the Mets and Yankees, or in Chicago with the White Sox and the Cubs. And so I think when it's a team like the 49ers, which with such a storied history and all of that Bay Area love flowing in general, it's a rabid fan base that definitely unites and unifies as the stakes get higher.
Now, we were talking about this when you were in Israel, when we watched the 49ers play, that Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer. Frank Gore's at about 9,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. I don't know how many people realize those numbers and how good he's been, because the 49ers, before Harbaugh came, were a terrible team. Alex Smith was not really in his own, and they keyed on Frank Gore all the time, and yet he got those numbers. This is his first Super Bowl, so talk about how he gets to really, I don't want to say cement his legacy because he's not even 30 years old yet. He has a lot of time to go. But this is one of the best running backs of this generation, and now that he'll be on the biggest stage in football, I think people will really get to appreciate Frank Gore.
Definitely. I think that he is arguably the most underrated running back of his generation for the reasons you mentioned. He's a future Hall of Famer. He was the only player on the team for so many years. He never asked to be traded. He put his head down and ran hard. He played banged up, always fought to come back from an injury, even when there was nothing to play for. So as much of his legacy and the appreciation that he's garnered from Bay Area fans has to do with his attitude on and off the field during those bad years, in addition to the Hall of Fame caliber play. And the Niners, he is what makes the Niners go. Obviously, Kaepernick is an up-and-coming star quarterback. He's looking like a superstar. Michael Crabtree has finally come into his own and earned that number one draft pick. But Frank Gore was there before all of them, and even though he won't be there after them, he's really the glue guy on that offense, even if he's not as verbal or vocal of a leader. And so I think the Super Bowl is the chance for everyone to see that he'll be there running hard, grinding out yards, watching a lot of the NFL teams this year. The only other runner I saw like Frank Gore who refused to go down was Marshawn Lynch of the Seahawks, who had a phenomenal season. And that's not to say that Frank Gore is the second best running back in the league behind Marshawn Lynch. I think we all know Adrian Peterson and obviously what he's done. But Frank Gore, the heart he has, the way he leads the team, the way he has accepted any role over the years, I'm thrilled, like you and I spoke about, that he will finally get the chance to do this now in the Super Bowl. He showed it last week against Atlanta. He had the touchdown run to seal the game, and now people will get to see on an even bigger level worldwide, will get to see just how much Frank Gore means to the team.
Now, you brought up Michael Crabtree, and of course, there's those allegations of sexual assault, the party after the Green Bay win. It's starting to look like this is false. Do you happen to have any inside information on the case, and do you think this will affect Michael Crabtree's play in Super Bowl 47?
I don't have any inside information. They've been extremely tight-lipped about this. Everything I've read, everyone I've spoken to, I haven't been able to get any more about the story other than what's been put out in the mainstream media, but I agree with you. The sense seems to be that this is a false allegation. Obviously, there's a danger in saying that. You never want to discount what might have happened, but all indications appear to be that there's nothing to this. And regardless of what the motivation was, it seems like it's nothing but a false allegation. Crabtree voluntarily went and spoke to the police before they asked to question him. Then they asked to question him. He was in contact with them, all relating to the alleged sexual assault. And at that point, he hasn't been charged with anything, hasn't even been arrested. So it's looking like, usually, regardless of who the person is, we know how often athletes and celebrities get off for crimes, whether they committed them or not, but they still get arrested. The whole process happens, and it's a huge story. Crabtree's been in touch with the police from the beginning, and he hasn't been arrested, let alone charged. So it's seeming like it's nothing. Time will tell, but in terms of his play in the Super Bowl, I don't think that it'll affect him at all. He seemed focused and fine during the Falcons game, and that was after a question whether or not he would, an initial question whether or not he would travel with the team. So I think he'll be ready to go, assuming nothing changes, obviously, with the investigation between now and next weekend.
You know, and this is something that's talked about again. I don't think Michael Crabtree did anything wrong outside of being in a bad place, meaning a club or some late-night place after the game. He needs to be going. I know it's hard to ask of a single athlete or a popular athlete to do that, but he needs to go home and relax. Are you concerned about these young guys? You know, Colin Kaepernick's 25. There's some young guys on the 49ers being in Bourbon Street, being in New Orleans during the biggest week of their lives at a time where everyone in the world is there, parties galore. As a 49ers fan, are you concerned or scared about that at all?
I'm definitely more concerned than if the Super Bowl was in Indianapolis again.
Right.
But having said that, I think one of the strengths that everyone in the country has seen about the 49ers is that they truly are a team. On the sideline, when they were down 17-0, people were concerned, obviously, on the sideline, but you saw the offense and the defense going up and talking to each other, pumping each other up. After Kaepernick got the first touchdown, Pro Bowlers Dante Whitner and Deshaun Goldson of the defense, cornerback and safety, came up to Kaepernick and gave him high fives and said, "Let's go." So that team sticking together, the cohesiveness, which I think all started when Jim Harbaugh came. Not that some of it wasn't there before, but he really unified the team and rallied around him. I think that will help in this situation because Aldon Smith, we know, had he had a DUI in the offseason. He threw a party at his home in San Jose, California, where another guy was stabbed. Then he went to a Missouri game, his alma mater, college football game during the Niners bye week, and there was a report that he got jumped outside of a bar. So he's clearly had his troubles off the field, but I think that the team will keep itself together because their eye really is on the prize. And everyone talks about how the biggest thing is winning a championship, and I believe that players believe it when they say it, but it doesn't always come into play practically. I think in New Orleans, even though it's New Orleans and Bourbon Street, the team will be together, Harbaugh will be there, and they'll make sure that everyone stays in line. If they win, that could be a different story, and that could be more concerning, but I don't think it'll have an impact on the game itself beforehand.
Now, again, by the way, this quote-unquote disadvantage could go to the Ravens as well, but the Ravens are a little bit older, so they might be able to kind of stay away and not be drawn in as much. Let's talk about another issue regarding this game. David Akers, they end up, not cutting him. This game could very well come down to a field goal. So right now, 4.5-point spread. I think it'll be closer to 3 by the time the game gets there. Again, as a 49ers fan, David Akers has had his struggles. Are you happy with the decision to keep him and not go with someone else? Or, again, are you a little concerned about having David Akers on the team?
I'm definitely concerned. I personally thought that they should have cut Akers in week 13 or 14, not necessarily because he deserved to be cut at that point, although the evidence was there to justify it, but because looking ahead, I said to myself, I believe the Niners are going to make a deep playoff run, and cut him now so the new kicker gets the work and gets into the system and all of those different things in terms of comfort for the new kicker. Then they decided not to cut Akers. Obviously, there were questions about cutting him after the last game of the season heading into the playoffs, and they actually brought in former Ravens kicker Billy Cundiff. He was on the practice squad, and they cut Cundiff a day before the title game against the Falcons to sign a backup wide receiver. Now, so what happened in the game, we know it didn't come down to a field goal, but when David Akers missed that last field goal and the Niners scored the touchdown to go up by 4 points, with the way the clock was, it was very realistic that it could have come down to the Niners needing a field goal to tie the game, and it was just David Akers sitting there. They're not going to cut him between now and the Super Bowl, but I would feel much better if there was a Billy Cundiff or a different veteran kicker on the bench there in case something happened with Akers. So I think that's a big concern. I think that's probably the biggest concern with the way the two teams match up. And like you said, everything indicating that it should be a close, hard-fought game that could come down to a field goal. A lot of discussions I had with people, text messages and various congratulatory things after the Atlanta game focused on, I hope we don't have to kick a field goal in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So that's definitely a concern, but I think because of the way it was handled or not handled earlier, now the Niners are kind of between a rock and a hard place because you can't cut your kicker, or you obviously can, and we know Harbaugh will make any decision he thinks necessary to win, but they're not going to cut their kicker and their lone kicker leading up to the Super Bowl. So they're kind of stuck now by the inaction when they could have cut him. And even up to the day before the NFC title game when they decided to cut Cundiff because they had the confidence in Akers.
I said earlier in the show, I think the X factor for the 49ers is David Akers. I think if David Akers makes his kick, the 49ers very well could win. But if he's not on his game, that really could be the difference in the ballgame, no doubt about that. And we've seen a bunch of Super Bowls recently, been very close, and it could come down to a field goal. Before we go into boxing for the last minutes we have with you, I want to get a prediction. Who is winning Super Bowl 47, and what is your score?
I have the Niners,
what a shock.
Unbiasedly, I should say.
Of course.
I have the Niners, and I think the reason is we saw against Green Bay what Kaepernick can do with his legs. Atlanta knew that was going to be coming, so Mike Nolan drew up a genius defensive scheme to keep Kaepernick from running. He had one rush for 23 yards. The second was a sack. He lost 2 yards on a design running play, so they shut that down, which opened up Vernon Davis. I think this game is going to be a combination of the two offenses that the Niners used thus far in the playoffs. So I think that Kaepernick will run more. The wide receivers will get their receptions, and Vernon Davis will get his reception. Add in Frank Gore, who we already spoke about, and Michael James as a speed back. I think the Niners right now, with the way they're gelling and the way Kaepernick is playing, they have more offensive weapons all in use than any team in the NFL sitting at home or playing against them in the Superdome. And so I think that offense will be too much for the Ravens defense. And the Ravens, as good as they've been, it's been the elite play of Joe Flacco, who has a 114 quarterback rating in the playoffs. Definitely the best of his career and arguably one of the best three-game stretches of his career. I think the Niners are the team to slow him down. So I still think it'll be a good, hard-fought game, but because the Ravens' offense will be down and the Niners' offense will overwhelm the Ravens' defense, I'm going to say the 49ers score. That is a tough one. I'm going to give a 4-point victory to the Niners, and I think it'll be a little more high scoring. So let's go 31-27, and I'm putting my faith in David Akers there a little bit.
See, it's so fascinating because I've had 7 people make predictions for the Super Bowl, and 4 are for the 49ers, 3 for the Ravens, and they all have it within 3-4 points. They have it around the late 20s, except Andy, for some reason, picked a blowout, but he did not pick a team. So the 7 predictions I have it very close. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Let's get a boxer right now. Let's talk Yuri Foreman. Yuri Foreman, his fight a year ago, he lost. It did not work well for him, partly because he tore his ACL about 2.5 years ago, that fight against Yankee Stadium against Miguel Cotto. What is the latest in the Foreman fight? What's his status, his feeling, his thinking, and what do you look for him in his next fight?
So Foreman is fighting tonight at BB King's here in New York in Times Square. He is fighting a fighter actually with the initials BB, so maybe that's a hometown advantage, hopefully not. But really it's a comeback fight. This is the first step for Foreman to come back. As you mentioned, in the famous fight that gained him the quote from HBO boxing analyst Max Kellerman was, Foreman gained more fans in his loss against Miguel Cotto than in any of his wins combined, including when he became the junior middleweight champion of the world. And that was the fight, of course, where Foreman tore his ACL, stayed on one leg, dancing around the ring on one leg, hopping, I should say, for 2 more rounds until they had to stop the fight because of the knee. Rushed his comeback against Pavel Wolak, who was a very good up-and-coming fighter, also had a record of only 1 loss. And Foreman had been cleared by the doctors, but his knee wasn't ready. And he said his heart just wasn't in it. He wasn't ready mentally. So he ended up losing to Wolak. He actually retired from the fight. He didn't get knocked out. He just didn't come out of his corner. He said, I was stuck on the stool. I couldn't move. So that was a tough fight for him, and that was almost 2 years ago. Now he's back. He's ready to be world champion again. His knee is completely better. He reunited with his old trainer. So this fight really, he's fighting a journeyman boxer who has a 12-8 career record, which is perfect. It's good for his confidence. It's good because even though he has 28 victories, Foreman does, he only has 8 knockouts, which is fine. Everyone knows he's not that type of fighter, and he made it to the world champion. He became a world champion by being a tactical fighter, but this is the perfect opportunity for him to get a knockout, for him to announce to the world, I'm back. It's a 6-round fight. It's the type of fight where if he does lose somehow, I think it's probably the last fight of his career, knowing the way the boxing world is and how hard it is to climb up from the bottom of the boxing world. But he should win. He should win decisively. and have the chance to come back. Lou DiBella, who is putting on the fight, he's promoting the fight. He was Foreman's longtime promoter for many years. He isn't currently, but he was. And he said, in regards to this fight, he said he feels that the middleweight division at 153, 154 pounds is aging and weak, and Foreman has a good chance to break back through. So this should be the first step in the real comeback. People were hoping the fight against Pavel Woloch would be the comeback. Clearly, Foreman wasn't there or ready physically or mentally. Now he is. He wants it, and he said his only dream was to be world champion, and even though he fulfilled that dream, he's got the same dream now that he's coming back, and he wants that title belt again.
All right, last question. Before we actually ask the last question, just a quick chat from Akiva. He's a big fan of yours, and everyone should check out OMG Poetry. Of course, Joe is the founder of that. We'll give you a plug at the end. But let's talk about Dimitri Salita, who's fighting Hector Camacho Jr., and Hector Camacho Sr. was murdered a few months ago, so this is the first fight for his son after his father passed away. They were not very close, but he may take that into the fight. He may not. Dimitri's going to be fighting in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Dimitri is living in Brooklyn, originally from outside the U.S., but living in Brooklyn now, a Brooklynite. So give us a breakdown of that fight. Again, Dimitri is still trying to get a chance at fighting for the world title. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Dimitri has looked very good in his last 5 fights. They have all been 8-round fights, or 4 of the past 5, and the most recent was 6 rounds. So he's definitely been building up. But having said that, he's getting his name out there. Like I just mentioned, with trying to pull yourself up by the bootstraps from the bottom of the boxing world. Salita was right there. He was fighting Amir Khan, who at the time was, in addition to being Manny Pacquiao's sparring partner, was considered a top three pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Salita was fighting Amir Khan for the WBA light welterweight title, and Khan knocked him down 3 times in the first round. And some boxing matches, you can get knocked down as many times as long as you can get up. Some of them have the restriction after the 3rd time the fight's called as a precaution, and so that's one set of rules. He was knocked down 3 times in the first round, so it was a first-round knockout, and the first knockdown was at 10 seconds. So after that loss, even though it was a title fight, people question what he could do on the big scale. He's used his last 5 fights to show that he's ready, and now he's fighting Hector Camacho Jr., as you mentioned, and he has a lot of fights under his belt, 54 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. But Salita, in his own right, has 35 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. So if he can win this fight, it's the undercard of the Zab Judah World Championship bout. If he can win this fight on national television, it's his hometown gym. I mean, it's a Barclays Center, so it's new, but he's from Brooklyn, so he gets to fight at home. If he can win this fight, this will definitely be a huge step towards getting another shot at that title that he hasn't had since the loss to Amir Khan.
So there you go. Huge fight. Dimitri will be on this program next week, so everyone can tune in. We'll get Dimitri's thoughts on his training program and going against a really good fighter. You know, he's going up in class, and a great chance for his career to go to a higher place with all the media coverage and all the attention. Joe, give a plug. Of course, you're the founder of OMG Poetry. Tell everyone how they can find out more about us.
I'm online. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/OMG Poetry. I also have all of my videos online, including a Hanukkah video recorded live on Israel Sports Radio. And all of that is available on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Joseph D. Robbins, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/Joseph D. Robbins. Any questions about sports or poetry or Israel Sports Radio?
All right. Great stuff, Joe. Good luck to your 49ers. Enjoy it. It's been over 15 years that they're going back to the big game, and they're going to have a chance to bring another title back to San Francisco. So enjoy it, be well, and thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Ari. You too. Be well.
All right. Joseph D. Robbins.